May you find happiness and peace, and may your home stand the test of time.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary. Today I'll be reacting to Charlie Kirk debate radical feminists on what is a woman. So without further ado, let's get started.
Grid 1 Motorsports donated $200. If we want to talk numbers, then honesty requires we first admit that gender dysphoria is a mental condition which should be treated first before any physical treatments are given. Accuracy matters.
All right, Grid 1 Motorsports.
They no longer call it gender dysphoria, unfortunately. I would actually make your argument for you. They don't even call it a medical condition. They call it, I actually don't even know what it's actually called. Gender dysphoria used to be the clinical term, but
they've changed it since.
So yeah, that's right. But I can go deeper into that. The old way we used to treat this is called watchful waiting, where we believed that puberty was the solution, not the problem. And almost every single case, and Europe was actually the pioneer of this, is that when you allow puberty to play its course, these individuals, they might end up being lesbian or gay, but not transgender. And that's a completely different thing that doesn't require hormones or eventually antidepressants on top of it. I'm sorry, Pixie, you were going to say something. So.
Yeah, my question was, can men get pregnant?
Two things. I would say if you're a biological male, if we're going to define male through biology or whatever, then no. I do want to push back on some things that I heard earlier.
Well, before you do that, go ahead. Aaron, do you have a answer to the...
I would say yes, because anybody who has a uterus has the capacity to give birth. So for example, a trans guy who gets pregnant, yes, would be a man who is pregnant. But if you're talking about a man who is assigned a man at birth and does not have a uterus, then no, he doesn't have the ability to get pregnant. You look at me like I'm crazy or what? Do you disagree?
But a lot of women...
So do you want to know why young men are going away from the left? That's why young men are leaving the left.
Why?
Because what you just said is...
Because they're uncomfortable acknowledging reality? That some trans men can get pregnant?
What you just said is at war with reality and, you know, massacring...
I mean, a lot of women can't get pregnant either.
Vocabulary.
So that
yeah, exactly.
It's just a question, you know. I'll let you come in just a sec, Pixie. Which one of you referenced chromosomes?
Me.
Is that, well, you said like, oh, you didn't check our chromosomes, right?
Yeah.
Well, people understood what a woman was before chromosomes were discovered. So the definition does not require this type of abstraction.
People understood what a woman was on the basis of the societal norms at the time, generally speaking, right?
Well, it's more
Which
precisely, it's about
answer,
like the gonads. If you were at any point in your life going to produce large gametes, then you're a woman.
How society, at least most societies as well, outside of like Western as well, but even Western, we can make this argument. What they would look at is the way that a person is like necessarily performing. So what is their role? That's why you have like the idea of like non-binary, third gender, et cetera, because there have been people also who have not performed their role as like a male or female. So they're put into the third category, third sex, whatever. So I would argue that for the vast majority of human histories and societies, what they look at is what is your performance, and that maps on to what we do now, because we don't really look at biology, we look at people act. That's why, let me finish.
Go ahead.
That's why we also, the terms less manly, he's less of a man than him, or she's not that womanly, makes sense. If gender was truly a binary, those words would make no sense. It would be like cat and not cat. That doesn't, you can't have a in between really. And the same thing applies for gender. There is a spectrum there. That's why the words less womanly, more manly, less manly makes sense to us.
And all of those things are fluid throughout time. Like what constituted like masculine tendencies or behaviors will be different now than it was several years ago. Or even like things like colors. Like for example, pink used to be considered a masculine color. Pink is no longer really considered a masculine color. It's considered a feminine color. So there was never anything inherently masculine about the color blue or the color pink or anything like that. That could always change at any given point in time.
Do you think that male brains and female brains, or men and women brains, are different? Wired differently?
There are differences between male and female brains, but I believe it's a matter of like statistical averages of like gray matter. There's not going to be like distinct anatomical features that differentiate a female brain from a male brain.
Really? You really think that?
Well, no, it's proven like scientifically.
Well,
like
no,
when we
it's
take,
not.
yes, it is. When we take a brain scan of a male and female, the average doctor can't look and be like, that is a male brain right there.
Not true.
Now,
No, hold on.
Wait,
if
let me
you do a
finish my
SPECT
sentence, please.
scan, okay, if you do a SPECT scan, you can see what parts of the brain light up. And in a woman, the basal ganglia and the amygdala is far more active, which is the inner thought matrix. Women have a far busier inner thought life than men do. Would you guys agree with that?
I agree.
Right,
I was gonna say it's very.
So that's not true.
It's very well known that like men generally are more on the logical side of things, and women are more on the emotional side of things. And I think that has a big role, or the way that our brains are wired has a big role to play. I'm not saying that if you took babies who were completely unmolded, that their brains would look different. But I think as we age, living in the gender that we are given, our brains become attuned to certain things, and that's why parts of our brain
like
light up.
piggybacking off of that point, I don't doubt that the studies that you looked at did find differences in like brain mapping scans between men and women, but the key thing is that they looked at men and women, so that's already a brain that's been subjected to a lifetime, or not a lifetime, but like decades long socialization. So that socialization is going to impact it. If you looked at like a brain scan of like infants, for example, like a male infant and a female infant, it would be like how different would it really look? Do you think it would look significantly different?
No, it's not even close. Of course it's different. And I can prove it to you in two ways. But the first one, do you guys know the John Money gender experiment?
No.
So, okay, I'll just really quick. John Money, who is a total creep, he believed that this is before we mapped the human genome. Okay, this is before we even knew about chromosomes. He said that men and women are blank slates at birth, and he said that they're formed through the toys we give them, the colors we appropriate to them, and they're blank slates. There was these identical twins. One of the twins burns themselves terribly in the genitals, and he said, raise that twin as a girl. And basically his entire life he was tortured, and awful story. Eventually rebelled against John Money, and this twin eventually was told that, hey, you were born a boy but raised as a girl, and even had a vagina put onto you artificially. And he was like, instead of being mad, he was relieved, because he said, I knew I was a boy all along. So there's no clinical evidence to support that. Secondly, though, it's a funnier one, okay? Do you hear me out? And I think this will resonate with all of you. Harvard University locked a group of men in a room alone, 100 of them, and a group of women in a room alone, okay? And they said, what did you think about for 30 minutes? The men, no surprise, sex and sports. The young ladies, what did they think of for 30 minutes? They replayed conversations that they had in the last couple of days. For the record, a man has never replayed conversations that they've had.
Do that?
I do that all the time.
Our brains are different, everybody.
Do you really not do that?
I feel like I overthink
No, of
everything.
course not.
You don't think about conversations.
You've never had like a shower argument or like shower thoughts or anything like that?
No, and that's not society, my friend. That is biology. You are wired to have those rethought. We aren't. It's not a learned behavior. It's not about dolls. It's not about dresses. Our biology, our brains are made differently.
You've
I don't
really
think
never thought
anyone's
about a
disputing that we
conversation
have
after?
like different.
We don't
Yeah, no,
replay
I
any
agree with that.
conversations.
Ever.
Men
agree
don't.
You've
with
never
that, but
done that.
The thing
Wait,
where
am I trans? Because
people-
sometimes sometimes I will.
You gotta go on
Very
hormone
rarely,
blockers.
though.
Yeah.
Very rarely. Sometimes, occasionally.
Men are
I'll
very
replay the
forward
conversation.
thinking. What is next? The job, the interview, tomorrow. And not saying women aren't. Women are very reflective. That's why females are better at poetry. Women are better at the more relational type aspects of being a nurse or an elementary school teacher. Again, that's not learned behavior. There is a biological element to it, and it starts with, we don't even understand the brain as much as we can. We understand like 1% of 1% of it. But I think that study and your reaction affirms it, because if I had a group of men around you, like, what do you think of when you're alone? Like, I just think of the NFC Championship game, the stock market, and all the women I've been with or the women I want to be with. It's a little different.
Do you think if they had conducted the study in a different country that the men and women would have given these same answers?
Yes, I think that these things are universal. And I mean, I can't say to that. That would be my speculation, that the men in Iran are thinking about soccer and Persian women, and the women are thinking about, what's going on in their local neighborhood. These things transcend continent, they transcend culture, and we know that because one of the arguments that you were making is that, at the fundamental root, these are learned and acted, these are put on by Western society, but you go into African villages, like very poor third world African villages, they don't even have a term for transgender. The idea that a man can become a woman or a woman can become man, this is a uniquely Western phenomenon that is born out of the academy, born out of college, that I will say, and I think we could agree, is largely they prey on people that have other underlying issues, and then it gets built on top of that. Autism spectrum disorder, depression, anxiety, some other sort of bipolar, schizophrenia, trauma, things of that nature.
There's a couple of things to push back here. Brian.
If you can, quick.
I don't mean to monopolize. I'm sorry, Pixie.
No, it's okay. There's a couple of things. I do want to push back on that because like there are like communities and cultures that we could search up right now in China, India, various like Native American like histories that have recognized the idea of like third gender or outside gender that doesn't fit into this binary. So I wouldn't say it's just Western.
That is
and then
true.
on top
Wait,
of that,
let him answer.
No, but no, you please continue. You are right. I can address that at length. I don't think it's fruitful.
Okay,
But keep
okay,
going.
go ahead.
okay.
You're not wrong.
And then on top of that, you gave a case study. I kind of want to give a case study back. NPR did a article on this. I can't remember the name, but basically it was about a person who felt gender fluid. And when they felt like they were a man and they did things like facial recognition or other tests regarding that, they would score like a man does, like higher than most women. But when they got into the mindset of being a woman, they would score higher in women-related tasks. So yeah, it does come back. You're saying like this is all predisposed biology, but there might be something to be said about like, oh no, if you're thinking like a man, the mindset of a man, maybe that's more in tune with certain ways of thinking versus thinking like a woman. That doesn't mean it's all 100% biological basis. It means that like, hey, if you're raised to think in a certain pattern, you're going to perform in that pattern.
I agree. I mean, if a society can mold you, of course, but you're dealing with very powerful raw material that's underestimated in the current cultural conversation. And you can only guide that raw material so much. So let me ask another hypothetical. I'll just tell you, if I sit down with men, what do they always talk about? They talk about macro concepts, big things, stock market, sports, things that are very, like let's just say bigger than individual. Women, if you sit down, they'll talk a lot about conversations or relationships, their kids, very micro. This, one of the reasons why men and women brains are different and they continue to be different is there's different skill sets. And I think we can all acknowledge that. Like men are better at some things than women and women are better at some things than men. I don't know why that is a wildly
the way that you frame it is like, oh, women are awesome at like small talk and like sewing or whatever, and then men are just awesome at like the stock market and being CEOs.
Let me ask you a question. But hold on. Let me ask you a question. Why is it that the International Chess Foundation doesn't want biological men who believe they are women to compete with women? They say that will not allow trans men into the female category. Why is that? I
can't speak to that, but I'm just, if you're going to talk about like representation being the thing that lets you know that, oh, men are obviously smarter, you could break this down to race.
I never said smarter. I said different.
Then different.
Women.
Okay, then we could say this.
My wife does things with my child that I can't even dream of doing, such as having an intuition, compassion, empathy. She can operate on 30 minutes of sleep. I need 8 hours, or else I'm like a
Don't underestimate yourself, Charlie.
Hold on a second. No. Hold on. No, women have a different giftedness, I believe, given by God that is completely different than men. I never said smarter. In fact, a woman's intuition is far better than my intuition. I trust my wife's gut when it comes to people, when it comes to relationships, and she leans on me for investments or politics. We are given different gifting. Now, with that being said, some women have a gifting in that direction. Those are the exception, though. There is a general rule, and the general rule is that women are far more gifted at people and caretaking and the intimate. I don't mean that demeaning or derogatory. I never use the word smarter or dumber. You might be inferred. Oh, thank you, Molly.
Yeah. No, I actually very much agree with what you're saying. Me personally, I mean, sexuality is a big part of my life, and I think what you're saying actually really ties into a lot of like sexuality, because it's the man's role to be kind of like if you're talking like the nuclear family, it's like the man's role to kind of be the governing force of the family, take care of everything on the outside, take care of the finances, the stocks, all of that, and to kind of be the rock for all of the little things that the woman has to go through during the day. Just all the little conversations, all the things that she has to deal with that you're not there. And I think that, it's a really beautiful thing, like yin and yang, like there's
beautiful
parts of men that complement women, and there's parts of women that complement men. And the best thing is there's things that women can do that men cannot, and there's things that men can do that women cannot. And I think that the issue is we try and figure out like who's better, who's more powerful, who can, who gets to say what happens. And I think that the issue that's really dividing, and the beauty comes when you kind of bring those skills together.
I agree. That's wonderfully said, Molly.
That was beautiful, Molly. Let me.
Okay, so I think I loved how this conversation went. I was avoiding or trying not to post this so that at least we can all watch and get the full message before I give my commentary on this. I feel I get where Charlie is coming from, and I think a certain lady said something. She said, if a woman or a guy is being nurtured by a woman or stay with a particular kind of people, he behaves like them. That is why Charlie have always been pushing. It is better to have both parents training a child than just single parenting. I don't like the idea of just male training their children or just female training their children, because children learn from you. They learn from what you do. So when you see a child trained by a woman, even if it's a man, he starts behaving like a woman. He starts exhibiting some characters that his mother portray. So when he leave that what's it called, comfort zone, and mingle with his fellow men or his fellow age group, when he comes back home, the mother starts feeling like, what happened? What are you learning in school? What is this? Because she start noticing a different trait in her her son. And same with ladies that stay with their guys, let's say single parenting, just the father training the child. The father trained the child based on his capability, and when she goes out, she learns things, feminine things, things that her friends do, and she feel like, yes, I think I need to learn this because this is what my gender do that makes me look like a woman or act like a woman. You see, so I think I watched a video whereby I saw the child trained by Arnold Schwarzenegger, the son trained by him, and I saw another son trained by the mother. They behave differently. Okay, one was physically built, the other was just he was overweight. He added too much weight and stuff like that, because your mother will not always want to stress you. They will want to make you feel loved, feel cared for, feel taken care of, because that is it. A man will push you beyond your limits, and I'm not saying they are bad. I'm just saying that it is better to have both parties around. It help the child grow. It help the child exhibit two different traits. You're learning what it takes to be a woman, how to take care of a woman, how to be there for your woman. And the dad is telling you a different thing. The dad is telling you how to be a man, or he's showing you how to be a man, how to act like a man, how to be this. It prevents people from confusing themselves when they are older. And I think that is what is leading to this people not being able to identify themselves, because they feel like, I've been trained this way all my life. Why then do I need to identify like as this or be like this simply because I am in this body? So I think that is one of the major issues, because now it becomes an issue when you're trying to switch, okay? When you're trying to switch from what you're comfortable in to a different thing. It's kind of difficult, but to me, I feel like it's not difficult when both parents are around. They can nurture you, they can train you, they can be there for you, but it's not in every situation. Sometimes I see people trained by both parents still comes out and feel like, yes, I think I prefer to be identified as this. So sometimes I feel this more psychological, because the God that made us both male and female. Even if you're not a Christian, there is no in between. You can either be born as a male or you'll be born as a female. Okay, no matter how you try to use surgery and correct so many things, when you die in, let's say, 200 years from now, if they dig up your skeleton, they will easily identify that this person is a male, this person is a female. They're not going to say this person is a biological male, or this person is a trans, or this person is like, it shows in your structure that yes, you're a male or you're a female. There is no in between. I know some people may be born with male and female genitalia, but that does not, stop them from being one party, because one will surely overpower the second one. It might be the female, overpowering the male, or the male overpowering the female. So that is why even at that, they advise you to go to the hospital at a very tender age. Then the doctor would look through you, look at your internal organs, look at what is developing. Do you have a uterus? Do you have what makes you a woman? Do you have more of what makes you a man? And they will fix the error. Some of them would want to leave it, but I feel like it's just few, maybe one out of 1,000 children experience that. But majority of us have been born either male or female, and it's so beautiful, to stand with the gender you are born in, because you feel more comfortable. I would not like to dress like a woman with my BS, or I would not like my daughter to dress like a man with her breasts all out, or feeling like I think that is what I want to identify. I feel, based on what Charlie said, it's a Western thing, because if you come down to Africa, I know they've sanctioned us. They've done so many things. They've decided not to loan us simply because we choose not to, put it in our constitution that we encourage, people identifying themselves as gay, identifying themselves as lesbian. In Nigeria, it's a criminal offense. In Ghana, it's a criminal offense. In majority of, the African country, it's a criminal offense. If you should do that, you will spend some time in prison. And I feel like that is a way of controlling things. If not, everyone will wake up one morning and feel like, yes, I feel threatened. I want to own a gun. I don't want to be a woman anymore. I want to be a cat. I feel like there is no limit to that. So instead of us to buy into the ideology, we feel like putting rules there to prevent people from ever thinking of it is the best way forward. And to me, I feel that is the best way forward, because I just feel this is psychological and people need help. You don't just see a child doing certain things and you keep on encouraging the child simply because you don't want to hurt the child's ego. The thing is, you call a spade a spade. This is not how we are supposed to be. This is not it, okay? If you are born a male, you are a male. Stop deceiving yourself. I've seen people that have gone under the knife, to correct this, and at the end of the day, they regret it. Just like a video I saw online that a certain woman said she feel she was supposed to be born blind, and she took her eyes away. When I went to the school of blind, I almost wept that day, because I saw children, born without eyes. They've never seen anything before. Their world has been dark. They don't know when it's day. They don't know when it's dark. Night. Some of them, they are partially blind. Some of them are completely blind. And they are trying to survive in this world. But you could see a grown-ass woman that has her two eyes. Like, she feels like she's supposed to be born blind. Like, I feel like it's stupidity. Like, people are praying for this sight, and you decide to take yours away simply because you have the power to do that. When are we drawing the curtain? When are we saying, okay, this is the limit, you can't do this, and everyone is free to do whatever they want? And I think this is where African is outshining other continents. Well, maybe not other continents, but majority of the people from the West, because we feel like if this is psychological, you need to go to the hospital, you need to check yourself, because you are born a male, you have everything that makes you a male. Why deny the fact and feel like you want to be a female simply because you feel you are more comfortable in that? It's psychological, and I think people need to visit, the hospital to get themselves checked, because to me, I feel it's not proper. Like, to me, it's not proper though. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. If it is your first time visiting the channel, click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and remember this.